So today's project in the shop is going to be to buff out the scoops that go on the side of the tank on the MT09. We're going to show how we wet sand it, what products we use, how to do it, and then we're going to go out into the driveway and hopefully do a real nice photo shoot. So welcome to Windy Videos. We try to post something up motorcycle related almost every day. We have jobs in the shop, we have projects, we have evil twin projects, mostly paint work. And very soon, probably in the next day or two, we're going to start making a custom set of wheels for the MT09. Hope you're going to enjoy this presentation. So this morning, the first thing I did when I woke up, came out in my pajamas. You don't want to see that on video. Put those parts that we painted yesterday down by the heating vent. Looks like they're going to dry up well. Karen has a few errands. I have work to do in the yard. We had a light snow last night. Nothing to worry about. Probably most of it will melt up. But if I get those parts buffed today without interruption, get them on the bike, then I want to do a really extensive photo shoot. Because the next step on this, and probably tomorrow will be the day, I want to start the wheels. Now, the reason I was postponing this is because I anticipated the kids are going to be moving some furniture in here during their construction stuff. I don't know what, maybe not that much, but I didn't want to get everything all blocked in that it was difficult to work out here. So I'm going to have to think that through before I go for the next step on this job. Now most people that don't do a big restoration don't know the logistics of doing it, or like building a house like the kids are having done there, their foundation's done already. It's moving this here and putting this here and this and planning this, and it's like being a GC on a job. Well, with the MT09 I had a clear plan. I did not want to paint the wheels and then paint the blue parts. I wanted to see the whole bike, how many blue parts I had, and then make that final decision on the wheels, thinking maybe I'll want to change my mind. Well, John has done some more concept sketches. I don't want to change my mind. Every time I look at that bright silver, and now I have the logo to match, we're going to buff that out today. That's the project of the day. We're going to take care of the pond, take care of Karen's errands, and hopefully tomorrow morning after breakfast come out here and pull the front wheel off the bike and move these things the kids have put in the garage here around. But again, it's a lot of logistics now, and I've painted myself into a corner in the past. What happened, and I wanted to mention this to Jose. Jose just got a lift. Now, I've had a lift, and when I did the 750 restoration, I used the lift. I had it up on the lift, and I was even running the engine when we were working on the engine. And the problem is the bike was always a little teeter-tottery, and I always had to come along like a safety strap in case it ever tipped. Well, the reason is because my garage has 3 layers of carpeting. So everything is soft. Now, if you're on concrete, it's better. And of course, the best thing is run some lag bolts down in the concrete. But if that sucker tips over, and I always think, when I look at that if you're working alone, you could be in the garage laying underneath a 500-pound motorcycle, and your neighbors are mowing the grass. They don't even know you're out here. So just something I was thinking about, because I was thinking about taking out the lift, putting it up on, and then with the kids bringing furniture in here, I don't know. I'm just going to go old school with pulling that front wheel off. Now, one thing I did want to do, I did want to get a couple of photos of the bike without the scoops. And I always thought, I always like to do it before and after, so I'll take a couple of pictures, but I can't take it outside yet. There's still some snow on the ground. I don't want to be ice skating out there and drop the bike. Now, all the photos that we ever do of photo shooting before we make changes or want to review changes to the bike, I can look at this right now, right down on my computer, and I can actually show it to Karen. Very convenient. And of course the pond is still frozen over and there's plenty of ice to go around. Never have to worry about putting extra ice in the refrigerator here. Now hopefully it'll be a little bit nicer out here this afternoon, and I can get some photos of the bike with the new parts on them. Now it's warming up. It's supposed to go above freezing by early this afternoon. I'll be looking forward to that and maybe getting a photo shoot. And once you're in from the cold, there's nothing like that hot cup of coffee. It's colder every day. It's colder than I think it is until I get inside. Now these have been drying up here for 3 hours. 3 hours plus. And now because I've done this before, well, 4 or 5 times now, I can tell just by running my hand up, that paint is ready to buff. And in the past, in the past, to be honest, when I used to do lacquer and acrylic lacquer, I would always let this dry a week and always made it easier. It seems like this paint, the stuff that we use to clear, and of all the paint products together, you can really do all the paint in one day as long as it's warm. Now in the summer, you wouldn't even need the heating vent. But having a heating vent, it may be better than putting it out in a 70-degree garage. I don't know, because the parts that we did previous to this, they buffed out pretty nice. And these, let's get the other one down here. Don't drop it. Except for the fact there's about 8 or 10 little specks of dust in them, which you can't help. I don't have a spray booth. If it wasn't for that dust, I wouldn't even bother. Maybe I should get Luciano to buy me a spray booth. Hey, take up a collection. I got a real nice email this morning from somebody that I've never even met, but they apparently know me. And he says, I love your videos. It's like coming to visit every morning. And I told Karen, and she said, you know, when we were younger, you just go over to your friend's house and hang out, and life was simpler. Well, you didn't have to make an appointment for anything. Well, we've all fallen prey to the world of technology, that's for sure. But hey, those parts are ready to buff. I just thought that was cute. And by the way, I do enjoy when people send me a nice email like that. Cheered up my day. First thing is to make a little pail of soapy water. Get some 2000 grit sandpaper. I've been trying to milk this last little detergent. I think I'm done with this. I think it's time to recycle that. Anyway, the reason I put every step on every video, there's a very simple reason, because a lot of people, this would be the first time they've ever seen a windy video. They should know I post something up every day, and that all of the things that I do, the purpose of the channel is to share that information with people that have a passion for, and it doesn't have to be motorcycles. There's people that paint guitars, paint outboard engines, paint... God, in my lifetime, I've painted a lot of wild stuff, lawnmowers and stuff. But anyway, it always starts with a little bit of dish detergent and warm water in a pail. And we also need, from our sandpaper drawer, we need a sheet. One sheet will usually be plenty of Indasa 2000 grit paper. Now, the reason the Indasa paper is good, and Mark Morgan was the one who figured this out, we had 3 or 4 different brands, including name brands, and I compared them on Mark Morgan's FZ600, and this was my favorite. Now this is the 600 that we did for Mark, and it was during the time of doing this paint job that we uncovered or got used to using the Indasa, the 2000 grit, and it was Mark who actually bought the first sleeve of it while we were doing this restoration. Now you might have noticed too that this sandpaper, and again it's 2000 grit. Let me get it, because this is the kind of information people really want to know. And there's different sandpaper, but it's the red one. They call it the red line. That's the one that works the best. And of course I try to keep it as simple as possible. This is not rocket science, and if somebody helps you, you'll have it almost instantly. And I hope the videos are helpful too. Now in my case, and it's good to share this information, I was 15, 16, maybe 14, and still going to high school, and I was building model planes, and Harold Price decided to become my good friend, invite me to his house, he had a shop where he made picture frames, and he was an expert level modeler. Of course I was a beginner, and he showed me how to buff out a butyrate dope finish. And now think back to this, how crude this was. We used 400 grit and the red DuPont compound, and then finished it off with white. And when I saw that finished part of the model that I had buffed out, I couldn't sleep at night until the whole thing was buffed out. I was so happy. It just added a dimension of accomplishment into my modeling. I was just totally happy. Now this is going to be a little bit of a labor of love, because this whole part's going to get done by hand. I don't want to take a chance catching an edge with the buffer. The flat part I probably could do with a buffer, but when you have small parts like this, sometimes you think you're saving time, but you really don't. But I always try to do the first part of it in what I call real time. Real time, of course, is there's no camera cut, so you see how long it takes to do a given size. Now in this case, this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably 8 times what you see here. So if this is 2 minutes, figure you're going to spend 16 minutes sanding. Now, the idea is super important information. Wherever there's a mountaintop, a peak, you don't sand the peak. You go right up to it, but you leave it, and then just let the buffing just put that shine back on there. Don't sand the peaks. Around these little edges, don't sand the edges. And we're never going to touch this scoop. We'll just leave the scoop the way it is. You pill up some paint in there. It's very delicate in there. And it's plenty shiny anyway. Okay, I wanted to show this in real time. And once I show that, now you can get the real picture of how long that takes. Okay, so this is what we're sanding for. At a little high spot. There's little defects here. We want the whole part to look like this when I'm done. And this right now, that's ready to be buffed. Now, whenever I sand something with 2000 grit, you always think, there's always people that oh, it was nice and shiny before you started that. Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? What usually works to convince them, you leave one part with the dust in it or the imperfections, and you buff out the other one and put them side by side. And when you see them side by side, you go, oh yeah, you're right. Pretty much case closed right there. Okay, with one part sanded, I thought I'd show how I did not sand the corner at all. I'll just be very careful. And in the scoops, I was thinking I'd be able to, I don't want to buff inside the scoop. I just want to buff the flat part that's going to reflect light. Obviously, this whole part's going to be done by hand, and I don't want to break through on any edges. That's the whole thing. When you break through on an edge, you got a big giant repair then. And there's a ratio of how much time you spend with the 2000 grit. I always think if you spend 1 minute with 2000, you save 5 minutes of buff. So with one part done, second part always seems to go a little bit faster. Not a whole lot though. But this part's pretty much ready to buff. And I've been real careful about not going through. And this part, I'll do this exactly the same thing. When both parts are sanded like this, it'll be a very simple thing. Then the buffing part, once you get to this part, the buffing part, and if you've done this meticulously, the buffing goes either by hand or by machine. It doesn't matter. It goes very quickly. Now, since that first day that Harold Price and the late Harold Price, he taught me how to wet sand. That was the first time I ever even heard of wet sanding paper. I was in my teens and I wanted to have a shiny model plane just like the adults had. And when he shared that information with me, that was an amazing revelation to me, and it really made me enjoy painting. I've been enjoying painting things basically my whole life. Now we got both parts sanded, but of course, like my life always is, there's always a change of plan. I have a couple of things I have to do for Karen, and I'm going to stop by the kids' house and see the construction and come back to this and buff it. And both of the parts are ready. They should be a piece of cake to buff out. Actually, this flat spot here you could do with a machine. That'd be no problem. But I'm just so concerned with, I want these to be perfect. I don't want to have any little glitches in them. And I sure don't want to have a spot where I buff through and I got to touch it up. So when all else fails, hand buffing is the answer. But we got to do some errands now. And most of the snow is melting up and it's a bright sunny day, so if we do get these parts finished today, and you never know, my life is very unpredictable, we'll get our photos too. And it's always exciting to see the progress on a construction job, any job, and the kids got a big one going on. Now unfortunately I see locally even, they've already got the roads salted, so boy, that puts the kibosh on any chance of getting a ride. And the thought of coming home from a ride, even if it warms up enough that we can get a ride, and that thing of cleaning the bike. Ugh. Once they salt the road, and they already have. Now we're over at the kids' house, and I see they got the construction stuff started. I had the building inspector by my house yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, he's a good guy. Actually, not too bad. How's he treating you guys, okay? He doesn't mind you drink beer on the job?
I love them all. I love them all.
Yeah, look at this, boy. This is some job. You guys are really doing a good job. I'm impressed. Oh, I remember messes like this when I was doing construction work. Oh, God almighty. What? Bad memories. Bad. That brings back memories of John DeTavio and I working on my old houses. Oh, John, rest in peace. I'm heading back to buff parts. I like buffing a lot more. Hey, there's my daughter leaving. She don't even say hello. Ah, she is going to say hello. Sometime I don't get a hello, sometime I do. I guess I don't get a hello today. Yeah, I'm going to that construction site. I brought back memories of John DeTavio and I. He was in his 80s when we carpeted the garage together. He worked for me for a couple of years. I worked for him. What a guy. Now, it's funny how after a good friend passes away and some of the things you've done together, the late George Venturini and I did many things. John DeTavio and I, we laid this carpet. This carpet, if you only knew what a job this was. He leveled out the floor. We went and bought the carpet, and he was in his 80s, and he was working. He was a better worker than I was. So we just got to flip battery chargers, get these puppies all charged up, get down there and do some buffing. This is what's nice about having coffee in a carafe. It keeps it nice and hot. And this is the product I've always preferred, and the Evercoat definitely worked well, but this product, I think, it makes it the easiest possible. It's just, I can't imagine somebody that would do the 2000 grit sanding and get that nice and flat and not be able to get this buffed even by hand. And we're going to do these parts by hand. So we start with the part that is, except for the high edges and around little detail areas, basically it's flat 2000 grit papered. And again, this is the product that I've had really, really good luck with. Now, it doesn't matter what spot you pick. I'll just pick a spot at random. I want to show one little spot in real time. And it's always good to see these things in real time. I always say the reason is I see people that do things in camera cuts, and I don't know how long that took. Well, and sometimes it's because they want to be deceptive, or they want to make it look easier than it is, or harder, or whatever, or they're selling you a product. Luckily, I'm not selling anything. I'm not selling ice to the Eskimos or whatever. So, and it doesn't matter. I've heard this thing that if you compound in a waffle pattern back and forth, I've tried it, and and they say if you just go in swirls, and you know, everybody has their own technique. It's like when you're a chef, everybody wants to make the gefilte fish a little bit different. So I remember my grandmother had a pot of soup on a stove all the time, and because we had a grocery store, there'd be chicken feet and heads and feathers in there and God knows what else, buffing rags, and she'd pour the soup out for lunch and it'd be delicious. True story too. And boy, that's a true story about John DeTavio. He was quite a craftsman, taught me quite a lot, and he was a really, really good friend. So here we want to just take a part of the rag without the compound on it. And I like to show that little spot in real time. And it just makes it, let's see if I can get the light to shine on it. You get some idea of how long it takes to do it. And of course you do that 15 times in this little area, that area, whatever. It doesn't matter how you do it, it'll all get done. Now in the end, what really takes the most time is up in these corners, all these little edges, and it just becomes that little labor of love that we're all so familiar with. Anybody who's got a passion for anything knows about that, that's for sure. But hey, I'm glad to see the kids' house is coming along pretty good. That is a major thing they're going to have. Make their life a little more comfortable. Make my life a little more comfortable too. Anyway, this just goes into where you start to wonder, you know, how long it's going to take, and then you look at your watch and yeah, it wasn't so bad. And it all comes out in the end when it's on the bike and you have it all in the sun, and it looks like we will get to do a photo shoot. The stuff's all melting up out there anyway. But boy, what a shame that they salt the road so quickly. Just in case we did get a day in the 40s, which may not even happen. I was hoping I could sneak out and get one more ride before I painted the wheels. Well, doesn't look like that's going to happen because tomorrow is wheel day. Anyway, this is really coming out pretty nice. I guess I shouldn't complain. Yeah, little by little, it just takes a little time. I always like to look at the quality of a hand buffed part, edit the quality, because you get in all the little nooks and crannies and edges, and in this case it was really a lot of work getting down in those scoops and everything. But you know what, in the end, this is the kind of work that pays, and it pays big time, because we're going to look at the model very soon out in the model. I'm used to building planes. The motorcycle out in the driveway. The sun is bright today. We should have a really nice photo shoot. And of course, when you look at the sanded part and the buffed part, oh, I always think I don't like flat paint. I don't like flat black even more. This is what I lust for, the beautiful shiny paint. And it's so easy to maintain, even when you have to wipe salt off a bike. Makes a whole difference. And as I always say, and I don't know why this is, the second one always goes a little faster. We'll do that one off camera and get out to the garage. And of course, the final test. You can rub your hand over this, and if you close your eyes, you can't tell where the lettering is at all. And I just think that logo, as opposed to the one that's backwards and has the thing cut off and it's crooked and has a square box, that logo, I think, is where all the time and energy we put into this part, that is going to change the look of the bike. We're going to find out. It's time to go out and install the parts. And whenever I spend time on a project like this, actually all the time I spend on a motorcycle, I always think, well, what else would I rather have done with this time? I'm not sure. What golf game or tennis game would I have played? Pretty straightforward job to install, but I want to be real careful. The first thing I want to do is I want to go get a Q-tip with a little bit of wheel bearing grease, put it on that. I don't need to show it. This part here that snaps into a rubber bushing, I don't want to have that I destroy this or break it or whatever. I'd like 1 drop of wheel bearing grease on the rubber piece, and on this, it's cheap insurance. Now, just like all modern bikes, there's always little things you can do to keep the maintenance to a minimum. This is one of them, and especially older bikes, like the example is the GS, has all these little tabs and tangs and everything, and boy, oh boy, the day that you break one of them, and I've fixed my own, plus probably a couple dozen for other people. Anyway, this is a little tricky. We got an alignment tab. We've got to get these two to seat in the right spot. And again, let's see if we can, if it's our lucky day. We got to do the front ones first. Get around there. And that goes in there. That goes in there. And there's an alignment tab back here. It's got to line up. And I see where it is. Ooh, that fit right in there nice. Beautiful. 1 screw, 3 little those snap pieces, and we are good to go, baby. Wow, that's going to look good. So of course the decision is that we want to paint this silver at some future time, but of course taking this apart now would be just a few seconds, and we could paint. I'm not sure that painting that silver to match. It's a really close. This is going to be the color of the wheels, of course. That's going to work out great, I think. And these little guys, of course, this makes this relatively straightforward. A little awkward getting in there. You got to feel for, there you go. Feel with your finger, press them in. And there's 3 on each side. I might have forgot to mention there's also a press pin up here, which I totally forgot about. Shame on me. Oh, that snaps in there nice. Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Now, I'm not sure about painting this silver yet. Oh, we're going to find out. I have plenty of silver paint, of course. That'll be just all, obviously everything we do is in the eye of the beholder. Oh, I want to make sure that I have a look at it, and this is why I do this every step of the way and take pictures. From a photo shoot, I can sit by my computer when it's nice and warm and I got a big cup of coffee, and I can decide, do I like that, do I not? Does Karen like it, does she not? It's way easier to do that than to try doing it out in a freezing cold garage. Now I'll have to look at this with the other side is the really bad one, with the old logo and a new logo side by side. But see, I like the way it kind of rakes down in that dimension from an artistic point of view. And what's more important, Karen likes it. And John Parthia, thank you very much. It also ties it all together here with the tank, this piece, and the piece on the fender. Every one of these pieces, I think we gotten rid of so much flat black and added something that I think it looks a whole lot nicer. All in the eye of the beholder. Kind of self-explanatory where they go. I think we have just enough daylight out there to shoot some pictures. Looks like most of the snow is melted. Looks like we'll have just enough light here. It's just coming up on the end of the good light. So today I spent way over an hour shooting these pictures and trying to get the light before it got dark. Some of the pictures it did get dark. We were at the end of the day here. But there was several things I wanted to see from putting this together that I could, and the tail section was one of them. I wanted to see again how much that tail section being blue instead of flat black changed the look of the bike. And I wanted to see it from every possible angle. See, a lot of these modifications, when you do a custom bike, they look good from this angle, but not from that angle. They look good when it's just getting dark at night, but not when the sun is out or something. But these scoops are a defining part of the motorcycle, like they are on a VMAX or on some of Yamaha's other bikes. They define the motorcycle, and I've used the example of the rudders on a B25. They are like a Chevy emblem on a 55 Chevy. They are part of what defines it. That logo, and that logo on this side of the motorcycle was never a real problem. It was the one on the other side that I thought looked a little cobbly and a little bit like maybe Yamaha took some kind of a shortcut that I wouldn't have taken. But when I started looking at the pictures down by the computer and editing them, right away it jumped out at me that it's a giant improvement having that part painted blue instead of flat black. It was a no-brainer. I asked Karen for her opinion. She looked at me and she smiled and she said, nah, no-brainer. Those scoops now, and what they've done, and it's a very subtle thing, they've added more blue and taken away some flat black, all at the same time. Here you can see through the end of the day it was getting dark already. It's a very, very subtle thing. Now, from this angle, the logo on that side, the gas side of the bike, I love the way the logo looks. That got rid of, that's like the white fender or like the flat black tail section. That logo now adds something to the bike that the old logo didn't. And somewhere on this video, maybe I'll get a picture of the old logo and a new one side by side. That logo is now making that front end look radical and nasty looking and pointed in the front. It adds something. Now, with John Parthia's help, I was able to get it just exactly what I wanted. I didn't just grab a roll of tape and come up with something. I thought about that long and hard, because even look at it from this angle, that is adding something to the motorcycle that I don't think when it was the old way was adding anything at all. The same with painting those side pieces on the side of the radiator. They add blue, they take away flat black. Now, I understand some young people would like to dip the whole bike in a flat black can of barbecue paint, but I don't. Now, I like the polished exhaust. I like polished, shiny parts. There's an exception to that, though. John made up a concept sketch with this headlight, the part that's flat black around the headlight, painted blue, and I didn't care for it, and Karen didn't either, so I kind of skipped over it. But look at from this, it looks like the Lone Ranger here. That's no way I'm saying that. Now, I can picture friends of mine would be looking at this. Turbo Steve is very artistic, and looking at things to make better, things that maybe I've gone overboard. I don't know. But again, all of this stuff is in the eye of the beholder. Now, the other big point today, and it's a giant point, today is the day, the last day I will ever get to take a picture of the bike with the blue wheels. So I wanted to be real careful that I didn't paint myself into a corner here. So while Karen and I looked at the pictures, I had a little notepad with notations. I still need to do that little flat piece of the bottom of the tank that I think flat black, it's going to look better. I hate to say that word. It's going to look better flat black. But it's just this bike in particular, Yamaha, it's a low-end bike, and they wanted to get as much of it flat black as possible. Maybe to appeal to the youth market. They figure no 76-year-old guys are going to run out and buy an MT09. But the thing that makes it worth every penny and every nickel and every minute is because this bike, I am absolutely in love with the way it rides, drives, handles, takes the gas, takes the power, the comfort level. And the only thing that was not exactly what I wanted right in the beginning, and I knew I was going to change it anyway, was some of these things that Yamaha took the shortcut on. The logo, we knew we could get rid of that. So many flat black parts. We know one can of blue paint and we'll get rid of that. And not having a windshield, having that little piece that was sticking too far straight up. Once I got that laid over, it changed everything. But that logo right there, that's the logo that it took me a long time to get exactly the way I wanted it right. And I think I got it right now. And thank you, John Cafaro, for the many times you explained to me in detail how important badging on a car or a motorcycle is. I have come to appreciate that advice. Well, I think we got pictures from every angle possible. Low, high, in between. Time to get inside and warm up. Now, even after looking outside here, and I put the bike back in the garage, it's pretty apparent to me, I think, and I'll wait until I have the time, those screens should be silver. By black, they kind of just disappear. But again, this is the kind of stuff that when you take a photo shoot, that's what you're always looking for. And every one of these bikes, when it was done, I changed something, then changed it back, and then changed it again. That's the endless ongoing thing of custom motorcycles. And I guess if you're ever satisfied and you're done, well, what's the point then? I don't know. But I really like the look now. This bike, to me, this bike right now is so much nicer than the day I bought it. And all I have to do is go to the computer and look at some of those old pictures with the taillight in the back of the tire and the, oh my God, the unpolished exhaust and nothing up in the nose and that white fender. Oh, we've come a long way, baby. It's been a long day, but hopefully tomorrow or the next day, if we have more snow, we'll get to start the wheels, major part of the project. The side scoops worked out great. I think those screens are going to have to be silver, but again, I'll get Karen's opinion when we're down there looking at some of the pictures I got to take today. So we do try to set up a video every day, entertain you a little bit, make you have that feeling that as that you've been here for a visit. Well, maybe you don't want to visit every day. I don't know. Anyway, tomorrow I'm going to sleep well, knowing we're going to get that wheel off tomorrow and start the wheel. So as I was editing this video down and I was here with Karen, we were looking at the pictures. She said tomorrow might be a very, very short day. I may not be able to get the wheel off tomorrow, but we're going to play it by ear. And that's what I like. Every day of my life is an adventure. I don't get into a routine and a rut where every day is the same. And I'm so happy the way that John spent a lot of time on these logos. I spent a lot of time. And Yamaha, I think, dropped the potato there. Anyway, I hope you agree. Well, if you don't, you click with the video. That's why you have a clicker. And if they hadn't assaulted the road, maybe we'd get a ride in sooner or later. Well, thanks for watching.